The latest Disney animated movie told a story that was a little darker than most of the studio's latest films. The tale of how Kumandra fell and became divided was a grim one. Like some rare films produced by Disney and Pixar in recent years, there aren't exactly evil people. Still, we wanted to tackle who would be considered the least good and who came out on top as the most noble. I'm Kyle with Wicked Binge, and this is Raya and the Last Dragon, Good to Most Good. Our least good character has to be Droon. Referring to the main thread of this film, Sisu explains how they gained so much power. They were creatures that fed on fear and malice, growing in numbers every time they claimed another human or dragon. Because of them, the people lost not only territory and resources, but also entire families. But we can't exactly say that they are evil, since they come off as almost mindless in their hunt for more people. But we do have to give them the title of least good, due to the damage and heartache they caused for hundreds of years. Our second least good character is the current chief of the Talon tribe, Dang Hai. Though she looked like a friendly old woman, she was dubbed ruthless even by her own people. When she saw the human Sisu being surrounded, she used the chance to lure the shape-shifted dragon to the edge of the city.
I trusted you. Big mistake.
Thankfully, Dang Hai's plan didn't work, and Sisu was able to escape thanks to Raya. She was a grim reminder that some people were willing to do whatever it took to survive, even if it meant leading an innocent young woman to be turned to stone. We aren't sure how she compares to the chief before her, but we can only guess that being cold-blooded in this new world was a family trait. After all, Raya herself stated that Dang Hai was seen as a relentless warrior who wouldn't be easily swayed. It would make sense if he gained this trait from a careful and merciless mother. Next up, we have Chief Varana of Fang. While we understand she was trying to make the best choices for her people, we had to give her a low ranking. Her demand for Namari to gain the gem and Sisu led to her daughter betraying Raya. Though Varana didn't intend for the gem to be broken or for Sisu to be killed, in a way, she caused these things to happen. We give her credit for trying to do what was best for Fang, but she put the other tribes at great risk to help her own people. It's difficult to believe that she would rather steal the gem for her own tribe, rather than try to agree to Chief Benja's plan to unite the land. And when the gem is broke, she had one of her men gather one of the biggest pieces and flee. When Namari pleaded to try and use Raya's plan, Varana's response was that no one would help them or show them mercy as they blamed Fang for the land falling to the Droon. We also have to place her this low on the ranking for insisting and commanding her men to steal the gem, despite knowing that Chief Benja and his frightened young daughter were the only ones protecting it. I mean, happily using lethal force to take on a little girl and her father, that is pretty ruthless. And we can't say we felt too bad when she was one of the many to fall to the Droon. She had chances to work with the other tribes and try to fix her mistakes, but it was easier for her to focus her concerns on her own tribe's well-being. After the threat was taken care of, she was thankfully able to see the error in her ways and unite with the people, following her daughter's example. Though she had been a proud woman, she wasn't so proud as to not see Raya's hand in saving the land. Daughter of the Fang and brilliant fighter, we have Namari. Like Raya, she was a self-proclaimed dragon nerd. Namari was clearly a child raised to understand that her people were lacking, making a comment when she and Raya met that she hadn't had rice in ages. Because of this, it's easy to see why Namari went along with her mother's plan to hunt down the dragon's gem for their own tribe. Although it was deceptive of her to use Raya to get the gem, she did what she thought was best for her people. By the end of the movie, Namari was once again caught in the conflict. She clearly wanted her people to be taken care of, and with her mother guilting her to retrieve Sisu and the gem, Namari clearly felt trapped.
She can fix what we broke.
The relief was evident on her face when she saw Sisu, and she made a point to try to convince her mother to go along with Raya's plan. Though she threatened Raya and tried to take Sisu, we know that she was under orders from her mother and that their people were struggling with expansion. In the end, Namari came around and used her fragment of the gem to help lead her people to safety. When Raya and the others handed over the gem pieces, Namari decided to stay and try to join the pieces together. And when she feared it wasn't enough, she stayed by Raya's side, allowing the Droon to turn her to stone. She only wanted to be the leader she had been raised to be. Sure, she made mistakes, but she was eventually able to atone for them. And by the end, she was able to get her mother to agree to unite the lands again. The next spot goes to the Khan baby Noi and the Angis. Noi was very capable and cunning for a baby. It was both amusing and heartbreaking to see her work, considering how she wound up having to be so resilient. She didn't just rely on the Angis, but instead helped them too. When she's defeated by Raya, Noi is seen handing pieces of food to the monkeys, where one of the Angi informs Raya about what happened to her parents. After joining the crew, Noi was more than willing to help Raya try and gather the pieces. She was the one to sneak into the palace and leave the dragon trinket to convince Namari to join them. And when the Droon came through Fang, they were able to use a fragment to help save countless people. For such a young kid, Noi was surprisingly smart. When they were surrounded by the Droon, she understood what it meant to trust Namari. Noi knew that she would be turned to stone like the rest of her family, and still trusted that Raya was making the right choice. It's not often in animated features like this that we see someone so young being hurt in the conflict, which was a pretty bold decision by Disney. Our next spot goes to Raya's aide, Tuk Tuk. Disney is great at creating companion animals for their heroes, and this movie was no exception. Tuk Tuk was always right by Raya's side. He aided her in training to be a guardian of the Dragon Gem. He traveled with her after their escape from the collapsing Heart Tribe. He helped Boone and the others get the people of Fang to safety when Raya was fighting Namari. Tuk Tuk was easily distracted by the occasional bug or food laid out. Still, he was able to help Raya cut off Noi and the Angis when they tried fleeing with the Dragon Gem fragments. Tuk Tuk clearly loved both Raya and Benja, happy to help hunt down every river end to find Sisu. Tuk Tuk clearly cared for Raya just as much as she cared for him. Like many animal companions in these movies, Tuk Tuk was shown to be composed in a high-stakes situation. He showed composure when Namari was chasing them and when they were leading the people of Fang to safety. A warrior and father, Tong also gets his spot next on our ranking. Tong was relieved to be the only survivor of his people when they attempted to attack the Droon. Because of this, Tong wasn't so much a formidable enemy as he was a man suffering from the loss of his family and tribe. He captured Raya and Sisu, but was clearly intending to keep them as company so he wouldn't be alone in the now empty village.
He seems lonely.
No, I'm not lonely.
He quickly agreed to lead Raya and the others to safety, and his heart softened when Noi reminded him of his own child. Tong became a father figure to the group, being especially protective over Noi. He had been less willing to forgive Namari for her actions, labeling her as a killer. But when he saw Raya and Boone sacrifice themselves so that Namari might have some hope of saving them, Tong followed suit. He respected Raya's decision as their leader, and because of this, he was able to have his family again. Tong was a good example of why you should never assume who a person is based on how they look or what you may have heard about them. Sure, he was tough, but more importantly, he was honorable. Tong was loyal, and he was able to learn to let others in rather than hiding away in fear as he had done for years. Up next is the princess herself, Raya. Yes, Raya is the main hero of the film. Like Namari, however, she also caused a lot of problems for herself. She was the one to lead Namari to the gem, despite having just been appointed a guardian of it. We cut her some slack since she was just a kid, trying to give some hope to another young girl. Raya couldn't have possibly predicted that Namari would attack her and go after the Dragon Gem. Because of this betrayal, Raya refused to allow others in and wanted to take on the task of fixing her mistake alone. She had been reluctant to take Sisu's advice in the beginning, but we understand why. After all, though Sisu was proven to be right in the end, there were plenty of times throughout the movie that justified Raya's caution. Because of Sisu, Raya slowly grew to care for Noi, Boone, and Tong. She even faced Namari alone to give them all a chance to escape spying. But Raya still resented Namari for what happened when they were kids. This distrust led to Sisu dying in the conflict and allowed the Droon to gain more power. While the others were leading the people of Fang to safety, Raya was driven to fight Namaari. She only understood the fault of her choice to gain revenge when she saw her friends fighting without her. Thankfully, Raya was able to find a solution and trust Namaari again.
We have to come together.
Not only that, but Raya's actions led to the land unifying as Kumandra just as her father had hoped. So at the end of the day, she more than earns her spot among Disney princesses. Taking our next spot is the lovable captain, Boone. The first to join Raya and Sisu, Boone was initially in it for the money, but he rolled with the punches and came to care for the misfits that slowly joined their crew. When Sisu's real identity was revealed, Boone had demanded to know why they weren't given all the details of what was going on.
When were you gonna tell us she was Sisu?
But he didn't stay angry for long. Instead, Boone, like the others, was relieved to know they had a chance to bring everyone back. When Raya went to confront Namaari, Boone had been the one to use their pieces of the dragon gem to get everyone to safety. This led to the others they recruited doing the same. When they got trapped, Boone had clearly resented the idea of handing over the gem fragments to Namaari, blaming her for Sisu's death. But when we saw Raya's sacrifice, Boone quickly followed her lead, inspiring the rest of the crew to do the same. Seeing Boone turn to stone while clinging to Raya's side was heartbreaking, and it was a relief that he was able to be reunited with his family. Our bronze medal of good has to go to Sisu. Though we mentioned the dragons before, Sisu deserves her own spot on our list. After being released by Raya, she quickly agreed to help hunt down the gem pieces to restore them and save the people. Throughout the entire movie, Sisu kept pushing Raya and the others to try and trust others.
Hey, wanna help us save the world?
This meant she also got in the way of Raya's mission a few times, but Sisu's heart was always in the right place, and her insistence on allowing others to help led to a nearly unstoppable team of people from every tribe. Because of Sisu, they were able to put aside their fear and suspicion to try and help the people they lost. For the silver medal of good, we have to go with Chief Benjen, Raya's father and the chief of the Heart tribe. He was a disciplined protector. He had been tasked with keeping the dragon gem safe, but had higher aspirations than just keeping the peace. He wanted to bring the people together and reunite the lands.
We can be Kumandra once more.
He dreamed of the people being Kumandra again, and he encouraged his daughter to help with that dream. When the gem split, he had tossed Raya to the water to save her from the Droon, knowing his injury was slowing them down. And finally, our gold medal of good has to go to the dragons. Unfortunately, we don't get to see much of them in the movie, but thanks to their magic, the land was prosperous for so many years. When the Droon came, the dragons came together to form the gem, using it as a way of holding off the threat. Thanks to this last effort, they were not only able to keep the Droon at bay, but they were able to return all the people that had been turned into stone. When the dragons were finally freed in the end, their first act was to restore the land, helping the people that had been caught in the conflict. There wasn't a single instance of these creatures being seen as bad or selfish, but let us know in the comment section what you think. Who is the most noble character in this new Disney movie? Remember to hit that notification bell and binge our Good to Evil playlist, where we break down the morality of the characters in your favorite cartoons, shows, and movies. But most importantly, stay wicked.